3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Reality Game Form Survivor podcast. I am your host, Colin Connors. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Patrick Sullivan.
Howdy.
And we are here tonight to talk about the finale of Survivor Cagayan. It was absolutely amazing. I was 7 votes away from winning a Nerf football, but we'll talk about that later. But it's not just me and Patrick tonight. We have a whole slew of people. We have a lot of the panelists from the season back on, and we have a few Survivor players hopefully will be joining us. So let's just jump right into it, and let me introduce everyone. We also have with us tonight Stephen Lehman.
Hey, everyone.
The amazing Alex Cash.
Howdy.
The fluffy Prince Ty.
What the fuck? I'm not giving you a good evening for that. You need to come up with another adjective and come back and sue me.
Okay. The Latina flavor, Alicia Garza.
Hola, y'all.
Her better half, Jack.
Hey there.
And the quintessential cutie, Prince Ty.
Kill yourself. Good evening.
Okay, guys. So what's going to happen right now is I am going to attempt to call Bob Crowley the winner of Survivor Gabon. However, he might be asleep. It is rather late, and he warned me that he sometimes falls asleep late at night, which that's a pretty normal occurrence. But as I'm doing that and setting it up, Patrick, I want to hear your thoughts on Tony as a winner and how he ranks amongst other winners.
Well, I think it would have been a disappointment if anyone in that final 3 won, other than Tony. I really didn't like any of them. So
You didn't like any of them.
I thought Tony was the best.
I was fine with what happened because it spite Stephen Lehman after rubbing it in my face that Spencer was going home. It all worked out. Okay.
And Alex,
I also won my fan.
Hey, is this Bob?
Do you have any idea what time it is?
Yes, sir.
So late.
It's extremely late, but it's a joyous night to stay up for. It is the reunion, or the finale of Survivor Cagayan. But before we go into that, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and it's not just me, Colin. There's also a whole plethora of Survivor fans joining us. We have my co-host, Patrick Sullivan.
Hi, Bob.
Stephen Lehman.
Good evening, Mr. Crowley.
Alex Cash.
Hi.
Prince Ty.
That sounds so silly when we're talking about.
I know.
It is a pleasure, good sir. It's a pleasure.
And Alicia Garza.
Hello again.
Along with her better half, Jack. And don't worry, we're not going to quiz you on these names. We're just trying to have a nice little panel discussion about tonight's episode. But, Bob, what are your overall thoughts about everything that went down tonight?
It was you could predict it as things were going. If Wu had been a Survivor fan, things would have been different. But he's, just too honorable of a man. It was a good season. I enjoyed it. I was a little frustrated at the end, but you got to live with it.
So, do you think Wu is going to regret this decision? Because in my mind, you could see that he was already regretting it at the finale.
Yep.
What's that?
Do you think Wu was already regretting his decision?
Oh yeah. He, as a martial arts expert, they do have an honor, but I'm sure he was. Cost him $900,000.
I have a quick question for you, Bob. As a former Survivor winner, obviously you're in that exclusive winner circle. How do you feel about Tony coming alongside of you and joining that winner circle?
Tony played an incredible game, without a doubt. Love him or hate him, he played a great game. And so I want to see his fake idols he told me he made.
Would you trust him, though, in an all-winner season?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course I would. Is he listening?
So when he tells you he's swearing on his badge and everything else, of course. That means a lot.
So my wife Peg is here in saying that goes beyond what's acceptable. But just before I left for the show, my father, who was an extremely honorable man, said to me, just remember one thing if you get on that show. Bluffing in poker is not lying. Play for all the marbles in the pot. And it is, it's a game. It's a game of chess where all the chess features have their own head. And if you know the game, you have to expect people to lie on the, I won't, Peggy's still here. I won't. Not on your last Peg. Okay. He played a good game.
And I kind of completely agree with everything you're saying. I feel like people blow out of proportion the moral conundrum of Survivor. To me, it's simply some people are going to lie more than others, and that's just a fact you have to deal with. And I think even Jeff Probst said if you're willing to lie on more stuff, that just gives you more leeway in the game. Granted, I don't think you should go into the game trying to lie as much as possible for no reason, but if that's what it needs to be done, then that's what needs to be done.
That's what it is. That's part of the game. That's one of the, that's one part of the game that I really don't enjoy. But, ask Randy. And
I was about to say you had to lie to Randy, but you won the game in the end.
Yeah, but I didn't. One thing I did say when Randy said you got the idol, I said I have this, and I never told him.
The art of omission.
Yeah. So if you're clever enough, you can lie by omission instead of straight up lying on your family. Is what you're teaching us right now.
If you're playing Survivor.
If you're playing Survivor, of course. Of course. I do have a couple other things I want to ask you about, and one of them is this season had a final 2. Of course, you won with a final 3. Which one do you like better?
I kind of like the final 3 because it adds a little more suspense to the game. And so although I kind of like the final 3 in my game. I also like the fact you never know what's going on. You sort of have to. We were sitting here tonight going, whoa, it's going to a final 2. It's going to, look at the clock. What's going on? And Peg's going, yeah, but we're watching it delayed. And, it gets confusing, but.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think it's fair to have that twist on survivors? Because some people are saying it's not fair to not have the survivors know what the final scenario is going to be at the beginning of the game. Like, for instance, at the start of your season, were you flat out told it's a final 3, or did you just kind of assume it?
Aren't we talking about Survivor? You don't assume anything in Survivor. I didn't know whether it was going to be a final 2 or a final 3. And sometimes I wonder whether producers decide that at the last minute.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's kind of talk about that. What if producers did decide at the last minute? I like to think that they didn't, and part of the reason why I would think that with this season was that the producers, because they love Spencer, would have preferred a final 3 over a final 2.
I think they did. Well, everybody likes Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I did.
He's the underdog story, and everyone loves that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
True.
He was the best player of the brains that made it tonight, and not Cass, unless Stephen Lehman.
Well, do you see the point I'm getting at? Is that I feel like if production was trying to rig the final 2 or final 3, they would have had a final 3 this season just to give Spencer a better chance.
I can see that. Mm-hmm. But I can't imagine how devastating it must be to get as close, for somebody like Spencer that just loves the game, to get that close and just have it slip away.
Mm-hmm. And Spencer really grew on us this season. He was very much like the Malcolm of this season, only I found Spencer a little bit more tolerable than Malcolm. But that was just me personally.
Yeah.
At least he knew what the Final Four tiebreaker was. Unlike
Bob, did that upset you? Those players not knowing what the Final Four tiebreaker was, like they didn't do any homework at all before going on the show. I'm speaking, of course, about Wu and Tony not really knowing what happened at the Final Four if there was a tie.
That was interesting, but that just shows how Wu is not an aficionado of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not an aficionado of the show, but I knew
I'd imagine you probably knew the rules.
I'm assuming you read the manual, right? Another big thing that was kind of iffy this season, and I definitely want to hear your perspective on it, was the Tyler Perry idol. Now, you, of course, are a big fan of hidden immunity idols, but what do you think of the Tyler Perry idol, and would you want that in the season that you're playing in?
The last time, are you talking about the last idol that Tony had?
Yeah, the special idol. The idol that can be played after the votes are read.
Man, is that more powerful than anything?
Mm-hmm.
If you have two idols, that means you can wear one idol and not play it. You know, that idol there was worth more than gold.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Tony then played it beyond the time that he could play it, it just showed what a great strategic player Tony was.
Oh, I completely agree. And Jeff even said he never thought someone would do that. He never thought someone would go, oh, wait, no, this idol doesn't expire at 5. This idol expires at 4, which I completely agree. That concurs that Tony was just a great player. But how would you react if there was an idol like that in one of your seasons, and how would you try to get rid of it or subvert it?
Well, the only way you can get rid of it is to vote for the person.
Mm-hmm.
And if the person has two idols like Tony has, then you vote for him. He knows who voted for him. He's got another idol. He's going to come whack you the next tribal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, do you think that idol is too powerful, though, and do you think it's fair to have it in the game?
I think I would prefer that they have that idol early on in the game as opposed to late. Because as soon as Tony picked that up, I said he's going to the end because they had to have a minimum 2 tribals to get him out. Or 3 5. I mean, once he picked that up, he was golden for the final. I thought it was going to be final 3.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it just seems to me that even though the idol didn't play too much of an impact of the season, I couldn't picture. I think tomorrow we're going to hear a lot of people Monday morning quarterbacking saying, oh, if I would have known we could have voted out Tony, we would have voted out Tony. I think he would have been safe even without the Tyler Perry idol. I'm just afraid of what it might do for future seasons.
I'd like to see it, but I'd like to see it again in future seasons, but I'd like to see it early in the game, not late in the game.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a pretty decent compromise because that way you have a good chance of flush it out. Something else I want to talk about tonight was the final tribal council performances that Wu and Tony gave. From my perspective, they both kind of did a pretty bad job. I think Wu never really, to put it bluntly, Wu never articulated his case well. And then you had Tony being kind of confrontational, especially with Jeffra. Bob, what did you make of that? And what are we not seeing as people that are just watching it at home? Like, how much longer is the final tribal council? How much pressure do you feel?
You feel a huge amount of pressure, without a doubt. And you can see that pressure on Tony. Tony doesn't do well under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The tribal councils, the final tribal council, went on forever. And as do some tribal councils. We used to joke that if it was a short tribal council, then Jeff must have a case. But it just, that final tribal council was a pretty stressful situation. You could see it on somebody's face.
Well, I mean, I do agree that it's probably extremely stressful, but don't you think Tony and Wu could have been a bit more prepared for it? Because they both seemed to me that they were flustered. Sophie, who won South Pacific, said she was drinking wine during hers, and that made her perform better. Would you recommend Tony or Wu maybe having a little bit of wine from the morning to help them with that tribal council? Because I'm put a couple notes that I think that was the worst final tribal council performance I have seen from two people.
I thought Tony played it, gave a good discussion during the tribal council. I kind of, sorry to be contradictory, but I kind of like both of their responses. I thought they were about as good as you could get. And obviously, Tony, because it looked like Wu only got one vote.
Mm-hmm. Wu did only get one vote. It was 8-1. So maybe they just edited it to make it look like that it was closer than it was actually going to be, because it seemed like the jury was just berating Tony the entire time.
I was going to ask about this. I wanted to get your opinion on Spencer's speech to the jury, and I wanted to see if you thought that it really might have made the difference in a lot of the votes that Tony got or not.
I've already had that discussion already tonight. I don't think the jury should be allowed to be at Ponderosa all together, because there's a lot of discussion that goes on at Ponderosa, and I think what you just implied, that Spencer's little speech there probably made a difference. If all of them had been separated when they get voted out, weren't able to sit and talk, and weren't able to discuss stuff before the vote, which they are allowed to do, it would make a difference. Because I know that in my game, when people are at Ponderosa, there were people on the jury that were lying to other people on the jury about what I had done. Or saying that I'd orchestrated voting out Charlie and voting out other people in my alliance, which wasn't true. And it would be interesting if all those jurors were separated and weren't, because Spencer was giving that little talk to all of them while they're eating wine and cheeseburgers at Ponderosa. So it's a long explanation for yes, I think Spencer have given the make the bucks to Tony.
Well, and that's been argued before. For instance, Coach, who famously lost South Pacific, said that the reason why he lost was because of the jury members talking in Ponderosa. However, I have to ask you, you won your game because all of the former CODA members voted for you that were on the jury. So do you think that them being together helped you win, or would have you gotten the votes if they were sequestered?
I probably, if my season, I would have got the same votes. They weren't able, it was Kenny that was trying to, he was so upset with me for not giving him the idol, that was trying to convince people. And I had 4 solid votes. And
so either way, you were getting the CODA votes.
I would have got the CODA votes. I would have got the 4 votes that I got regardless.
Anyway, Steve. Oh, go ahead.
Not to change the subject, but I'm sitting here. It's almost 11:30 at night, and I just reached in my pocket and pulled out a piece of aluminum I found in the fire that I picked up today. It was just a piece of aluminum that had melted. I picked it up, put it in my pocket, and thought, I gotta bring this back to the farm because I bet I can make a fake idol out of this thing.
Well, that's actually one of the funny moments that we saw tonight. Kind of relates to that, and that was when Tony had the final 2 picnic basket or whatever it was, and he found the note, and he was like, "Oh, this is still the game Survivor." Do you find yourself doing that sometimes? Do you ever see yourself in a group of people going, "If we played Survivor, I would align with him, and I would vote out this guy"? Does the game have lingering effects on you?
Oh, yeah, yes, without a doubt.
Anyways, Bob, before we let you go, is there any final thoughts? Is there any last little comments you would like to make about tonight's episode?
Other than the fact that I think it was a great show again. Tony deserved to win. I was rooting for Spencer because nerds of a feather flock together, and it was, it kept me on the edge of the seat right up to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if you guys don't mind, it's almost midnight. I've been up since 4 o'clock. Some of us have to work for a living,
That's true, and we all want to thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time tonight. It's always good to hear from someone who actually got a chance to not only play the game, but to win it. So thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Bob.
Just thank you very much, Bob.
Yes.
Have a great night.
Have a wonderful night.
Good time. Hey, enjoy the next season, Blood versus Water.
I know, I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Good night.
Night now.
No.
So everybody, that was Bob Crowley giving us a little bit of perspective on what it's like to not only play on the show, but to win the show. And of course, we have other amazing stuff going on. We have another survivor we might be able to bring on in just a little bit. And we also have our guest panelist to talk to. That includes Jack, who hasn't said anything all night. Jack, I want to talk to you right now.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, you're here.
Yeah, I've been here.
I know you've been here, but...
He took his face out of his phone.
Your face was in your phone, wow. I was going to ask you, why did Tony's title parry idol bluff work? How is he able to convince people to do that? And honestly, guys, would that work on any of us?
No.
Well,
No.
It would have worked on me.
I believe I have the answer to the question. I wasn't asked, but I have the answer to a question. And I'd like to refer to my answer to several questions from approximately 2 weeks ago. Cass is a fucking idiot! That is how it works!
So notice,
Cass is a fucking idiot.
Less than 30 seconds after the old man leaves, Ty is
Cass
already
is a fucking
swearing.
idiot!
Ty is already swearing. But Jack, I want to hear from you.
Do I think it would have worked on me?
And how did it work? How did he even think to do that? Just talk about it, Jack. Talk about the Tyler Perry bluff out of 2014.
Tyler Perry gate.
Exactly, Tyler Perry gate.
I think, well, first off, it was a really smart move by Tony, something that I had never thought of and probably wouldn't have thought of if I was in a situation. And to be honest, if I was one of the people out there and I had been playing this game with Tony, I might have been convinced, and a lot of it was due to the fact that if you're at Final Four, I don't know if I would risk it to lead a charge against Tony. We have to vote for Tony to call his bluff, because if he's not bluffing, he's gonna vote for me because I'm the one who is trying to convince everyone else to do it, and I could blow my game just because I wanted to test the waters on his special idol.
That's true. I mean, that's a valid point. Alicia, you had something you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, every time, I feel like a lot of the times we see an idol or we see an advantage that's won at a Survivor auction where it's kept to the person's self and they read it. And every time, what do you see? You see them make up something or lie about something to give themselves this fake magical advantage that everyone gets scared of, and then, turns out they were lying, and this big magical advantage isn't real.
What?
So I don't.
Besides Ave Maria, which no one even believed it.
I think
Okay,
to add on,
I do, which is why I talked about it. Anyway, to continue with my point.
Go ahead, Alicia. The floor is yours.
Thanks. I just feel like they should have been a little more wary of that, because if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I will say that the final two argument, the final two, the fact that they were thinking maybe it was a final two, that could have helped maybe help them think that maybe this idol really was good still at the final four, because then it's not giving you a free pass to the final tribal council. It's potentially giving you a free pass to another challenge where you compete. But,
I mean, I was actually thinking that same thing, that if they all would have known it was a final two, then that whole little bluff kind of works better, because that tends to be the history of Survivor, is that there's always that 1 round buffer between the final tribal council and when the idols expire. So what I want to do now, for the sake of consistency yes.
I was just going to say, I was really hoping one of them, maybe Cass or something, would go through Tony's shit and find the idol and read what it said and or something, try to find out if he was bluffing or not. I was waiting for them to go through his stuff.
I mean, that would have been interesting, and I'm actually kind of surprised that there wasn't more of that with this kind of cast.
Could have been like, hey, pony up, let me see what, I'm calling on your bluff, or else we're going to write your name down tonight.
Mm-hmm. Ty, you wanted to add to something?
Well, honestly, even if they didn't buy it, and I think I don't doubt for a second that they did buy it, because Woo's an idiot and Cass is, well, we don't need to go into that again at this exact moment in time. That being said, I think they would have voted out Spencer anyway, and I think the smart move would have been to vote out Spencer anyway, because Spencer was still more of a jury threat than Tony was. Obviously, Tony got a lot of shit from the jury, so to that end, if you were going to play devil's advocate with them, if for whatever reason you were to suspend disbelief in their stupidity, it still would have made sense to vote out Spencer, even if you knew that Tony was full of shit.
And you know what, Ty?
Tony's a better beat than Spencer, at the very least.
I do kind of agree with you on that. And something I want to point out, we are going to talk about the whole Spencer talking to Tony about why he should be kept at the Final Four. But tomorrow, everyone's going to say Tony should have, it would have been smarter for Tony to have Spencer go to the Final Three, because Spencer made such a good point. But my big argument was, let's say the Final Three is Tony, Spencer, Cass, and Spencer wins immunity.
Spencer
votes out Tony. Spencer votes out Tony. There is,
and honestly, I don't think
those people that are saying, "Oh, Tony should have done this" or "Tony should have done that," Tony shouldn't have done anything that he didn't do, because he won 8-1.
And that's another point, is that Tony.
You know what I mean?
But
it was definitely the smart move to get. Because here's the thing: I think Spencer, even if Spencer had taken Tony to win, I'm sure Spencer would not have said vote for fucking Tony to win, and I'm pretty sure Spencer still would have won.
No, Spencer would have voted out Cass.
Yeah.
It was Tony.
Spencer was like, "Oh, I will even tell the jury to not vote for me and vote for you." Like, believable, yet like offering the final two and being like, "Hey, if I win in the the last challenge, like I'm taking you, final two." That's believable. Going the extra step and being like, "And I will give you this game," like. That is not
I'm sure he was full of shit.
Never do that. No one would ever do that. But anyways, I do want to take this time, because we are a Survivor podcast that prides itself on little tiny bits of analytical nitpickiness, and I want to go to the very beginning of this episode. And what did we see? We saw Jeff Probst live talking about how great it was to be live, denying us precious airtime during a finale that had 3 tribal councils, a family visit, and 2 immunity challenges. I don't like it. I don't see why Jeff Probst needs to be live.
Can I offer a counter to that, Colin?
Yes, you can offer, and then I want to hear from Alex, because I haven't heard from Alex in a while.
Sure. Honestly, by doing these little live things mid-show as opposed to having it as part of the reunion, let's put it this way. I'm really glad that I didn't have to watch the stupid thing where he's like standing there awkwardly with the children during the reunion at the expense of hearing about Spencer, hearing about Tony after he won, or all that sort of business.
But the reunion still sucked, though. That's the reason why I'm so mad about this, because I was hoping when this happened, the reunion would not suck.
Well, why would you expect the reunion to be good?
Because he got rid of all the shitty segments during the show, but what happened was he just did even more shitty segments during the reunion.
it just came off, especially in the beginning, as a little cheesy to me, I thought.
Colin, you have to give props to Jeff Probst, because we saw Cochran in the audience, but he never asked him a question.
And actually, did you notice that Cochran's face lit up when Jeff was walking his way? Cochran was like, he's about to talk to me. He's about to talk.
They did mention.
Well, they
Cochran,
did read a tweet from Cochran.
Chill the Millers. That's
I
what
was so pumped about that.
They didn't beat a Cochran tweet. Anyways, Alex said you wanted to pontificate on this a bit.
Yeah, I think that the live segments during the actual show, I think all that really took away from in terms of airtime was rites of passage.
I like rites of passage.
I think that if they had gotten rid of the live segments, they would have had enough time for rites of passage, but that would have been it. So whether you like rites of passage or not, that's my take on it.
And actually, I do want to quickly poll the room on rites of passage because I personally love it. Patrick, rites of passage, yes or no?
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Steven?
Absolutely yes.
Alex?
Sure.
Ty?
Cass would have been a cunt, but in general, yes, I do enjoy it.
Alicia?
Yes, who doesn't love to either hear about themselves or get to, like, talk shit about people or,
I'm
like...
shocked that Alicia feels that way.
Jack, you like rites of passage, right?
No, I don't.
Okay, so there we go. It's, how many of us are there? Like 6? 6-1. 6-1, rites of passage. That continues. But what I was going to monologue about, I actually forgot, but I know Steven wanted to talk about this little bit of Jeff stuff.
My frustration with Probst was sort of stemming from he reverted back to old reunion habits such as word on the street is, or these kids in the audience think. Like, he asked the little, 11-year-old boy, hey, who would you take if you were in the Final Three? I'd take Cass because no one likes her and she's kind of a bitch. I mean...
Yeah, well, he's got better taste than you, Stephen Lehman, so let's give it up to the 11-year-old kid.
The 11-year-old kid is smarter than Wu.
And the 11-year-old kid is smarter than Wu, and Wu...
Yeah,
okay.
The 11-year-old kid was eloquent for an 11-year-old kid.
He certainly was.
He was more eloquent than Wu was, and that's something I do have to kind of... Just go ahead, I'm just going to get this off my chest. For those of you who just started listening to this podcast, and I know that's a fair amount of our viewership, we all picked winners at the beginning of this season, and I picked Wu out of a...
I actually got to pick Alexis like 5 weeks in, but yes.
That's
the beginning of the season.
Ty, you weren't here, so that's your fault. You had to work and stuff.
It's this thing called a
Wait,
job.
who picked Tony?
Brian Nelson picked Tony.
Oh my god.
Brian Nelson picked Tony 2 weeks ago when there was no one left. It was either Tony or Trish, and he picked... No, it was either Tony or Jeffa. It was Tony or Jeffa. Anyways, I picked Wu on a whim, and for the longest time it looked like that my YOLO pick would bring me some sort of solace in my life. And when Wu won that final immunity, Ty even congratulated me on having won this season's bet. And...
Last season I picked Monica Culpepper at the very beginning, and she got second place. And so before this episode even aired, I thought, I got second place again.
Because Patrick had Cass.
I thought it was such a sure thing that Cass would be second place.
I did worse this time.
Well, I believe I picked Aris last time, and we're not going to talk about it. Anyways.
I picked Bryce. I think I did worse than all of them.
Oh, God. Damn.
I do know that you did pick
He was too beautiful of a butterfly, and they just couldn't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
They asked him a question during the reunion.
So, I'm going to go on a limb and say, I disagree with Bob about production being able to lying about whether it's a Final 2 or Final 3. I think that information should be given to survivors at the start. Shoot me full of bullets, panel gas people.
Well, my thinking is if you go on this show, you have to be prepared for something like that. So if you're a good enough player, you'll be able to cover your bases, whether it's a Final 2 or Final 3.
It brings more drama.
Yeah,
Look at Micronesia when they thought it was going to be a Final 3 with Suri.
When they robbed Suri
and they had to cut her at the at the Final 3. It brought a lot of extra drama. A lot of people were sad because they like Suri, but this one it just robbed us of a beautifully delusional Final Tribal Council from Cass.
Yeah, people get screwed by swaps all the time. Getting screwed by a switch from Final 2 to Final 3 or vice versa, not that different.
So basically, I should stop whining. Is that the moral?
You have every right to whine, and I have every right to disagree.
Okay. Anyways, we had another interesting thing happen in a finale, which hasn't happened. Well, this one hasn't happened ever, and that was a family visit. I didn't think it was necessary. I don't care about people's families. Ty.
Actually, I thought it was useful because it showed that that someone would fuck Cass's huge cunt. She's a huge cunt, and apparently someone taps that. And honestly, the way she behaved on the show, I wouldn't have expected someone was tapping that. So, to me, it was a huge revelation.
So, besides degrading Cass tie...
I don't know. To me, they
Can
look
we
like
have Survivor 29 be Cass versus Ty?
I'm down. I am down.
To me, their situation look like they're the type of couple that sleeps in different beds.
I'm sure I know the law better than she does.
I think the interesting thing about the family visit and the way it was done this time was that since the family wasn't incorporated into the actual challenge, I think one of the things production learned from a few Redemption Island seasons is that people cheering from the sidelines can bring an interesting dynamic to how a challenge goes. And so if you don't have people who are in the game cheering for it or rooting against people who are on Redemption Island, then why not have the loved ones cheer on the actual castaways?
Do you think Cass's husband being there helped Cass win that challenge? And if so, what you're saying by saying, yes, Cass's husband being there helped Cass win the challenge is we can say Cass's husband is the reason why Spencer didn't win that challenge and why because Spencer could have easily won that last immunity challenge. So you're blaming Cass's husband for Spencer not winning Survivor, Alex?
No.
Maybe.
I
gotta think about that one a bit more, but the way you put it sounds not too inaccurate.
God, Cass's family really sucks.
They're related to Cass. But anyway.
Alicia, you were going to say something?
Yeah, during that I turned to Jack and I was like, oh, if you were out there and you were watching me, I would totally try my hardest to show that I'm a badass and prove myself and make you proud. So I really think it's a very powerful motivator for a certain type of personality.
Why didn't you just give up?
See, I was thinking if my family was watching me, I'd probably fuck up even more. Whenever I do any of my acting stuff or comedy, I don't like having people I know around me.
I guarantee if it had been me during the challenge and I was not doing well and somebody kept telling me to keep trying, I would have looked up and wasted 30 seconds telling them to shut the fuck up before continuing. I'm also a terrible person, so I don't know what that says about me. But.
Cass was afraid of heights, and yet she managed to jump off of the platform.
Honestly, my theory as to why Spencer lost that challenge is because he was in a situation time and time again, just like Tasha was in a situation time and time again where they had to win immunity or they were going home. That's a lot of weight to carry for such a long stretch of time, and he just couldn't do it, and he burned out, and he almost won, and he didn't. And that's what happened. Because it was down to him or Cass because Woo's really fucking terrible. And Tony. Yeah. So.
Jack, if Alicia was cheering for you on the sidelines, would that help? Be honest. Actually, don't be honest because you're probably right next to each other.
Well, here's the thing. If Brenda's booty was there at the challenge, I'm sure he'd be very happy. He would finish as quickly as possible to swim to shore. That booty.
I actually had this conversation with my aunt. I called her up on the commercial and I told her, I said, look, if this happens and you're my loved one visit, you can't cheer for me in the challenge because I'll lose my focus. I won't be able to focus if I have a family member there who'll be like, go, go, go. And I'd be like,
And I completely agree. I don't think I would be able to focus if my family members are there, especially if it's someone because to me you're in that game mode, and this is something I liked a lot about Tony, which once again y'all can shoot me with all your hatred all you want to. Tony did do a fantastic job of separating himself from the game, and I think that's probably the reason why he was able to win. But we're not.
He was able to win because he was up against Woo. I don't know. Was Wu trying to be like Coach Junior with his whole, I must be honorable and take the honorable person?
Although I will say Wu at least
you should have quoted Marcus Aurelius.
Wu was significantly more likable than Coach would ever be, and I think that had...
That's not true. Coach is fucking hilarious. Oh my god, stop it with your terrible...
Likable.
Yeah, I love Coach.
We're gonna have just let you know. This summer there is going to be a podcast where it's going to be Steven versus Ty, and all I'm going to do is have both of you in the special call, it's just me, and I'm going to say a player's name, and you're just going to go at it for 35 seconds, and then I'm going to
win every time, because Lehman has terrible taste.
I'll declare a winner, and the loser will have to take a shot, and the last person standing...
The shot will just fuel my fire. I'll take the shot.
Win a $10 Taco Bell gift card, but that's for later. I do want to talk about the second immunity challenge and just say, holy crap, production did a great job. Alex, I know you know a lot about these kind of challenges. I think this was one of my favorite final challenges besides the vertical wall we saw in Vanuatu. What's your opinion?
Yeah, I really dug it. The turnstile thing was incredibly creative to have like dummy ones that you think would work but wouldn't. There was that, and the wheel the gears thing. I think they've done a challenge where you had to build gears before in Gabon, which was something I was going to ask Bob about. But yeah, he had to go to bed. But yeah, so. I liked the turnstile mechanic. That was really interesting. I like both of the challenges this episode. They
were both, I think, extremely well done. Patrick, did you like the challenges? And also, did I just hear from Otis? I feel like we haven't heard from Otis in a very long time.
Yeah, that was a little Otis bark. I don't know where it was going or directed, but yeah,
I believe I can translate what Otis was saying.
Cass is a
something
fucking
about
idiot.
something. Yes, indeed.
Good job, Ty.
Well done, Otis.
You speak Otis very well.
I really do.
Anyways, well, I was really impressed when they panned in and showed the entire thing and just their faces. It was a very, very well done challenge and very impressive the way it worked. And I liked that it had the physical and the mental with the puzzle at the end. So,
Alicia, do you want to add to this love about the final challenge? Because I'm about to go on a little monologue about challenges.
Ooh, please do.
I liked that it was something that we hadn't seen before, and it was a big build, and so it just really closed out the season of like new, fresh, exciting challenges with another new, fresh, and exciting challenge.
Go ahead, Steven.
I actually, as much as I loved that final immunity challenge, there's a part of me that wishes that the final immunity was still like something along the lines of endurance with a hand on the idol, or maybe fallen comrades.
And you know what? That is the point I was going to make. I'm so glad I let you speak this one time, because for me, there's something about when there's a final two season about the traditional endurance. Whoever wants it more. I love having grand spectacles for the final four immunity challenge. Build a pyramid, construct a puzzle, build 9 decks of cards, throw 9 bags of sand into like those weird thingies they kept doing in Caramone where you had to like knock over blocks. I love the giant epic ones for the final four, but then I feel like for final 3, just take your hand and put it on the statue. I love that so much. But I will say this, I think production was amazing and also pretty sick to have the fake turnstiles in, because you saw so many people just run into them over and over again.
Just think about this. Wu was a fraction of a second away from winning $1 million if Cass had won that challenge.
He was. Interestingly,
oh my God.
I think by winning the challenge, he lost the game, essentially.
I was thinking that the whole time.
A fraction of a second lost Wu $1 million.
I actually, honestly, Patrick, I didn't think about that until just then, but that's kind of a huge revelation. If he would have lost the challenge, that poor guy. I feel kind of bad for Wu, but then I remember he honestly just did that. There's no excuse.
I have no sympathy for him for not only giving Tony a win, losing himself $1 million, but also preventing Cass from getting the final 2 and getting thrashed by the jury. That would have been a beautiful sight, even as
I thought it was a wonderful thing that he did.
Who wore it better, Wu or Colby?
The answer is Wu, because Wu is... Okay, Steve, I'm kicking the call. I do want to bring up something I kind of talked briefly about with Bob, and I would love to hear, Jack, we haven't heard from you. This jury was so bitter and just so holier than thou that
And yet they voted. That doesn't make.
I think they reluctantly voted for.
Yeah, they did vote for the correct person. I will say that they did vote for the person that deserved the most. But just their attitude this whole time, and I don't know how many of y'all watched the Life at Ponderosa videos.
Yeah, I did.
These series for this season has been one of the most awkward that I've ever seen.
really
Normally,
has.
when people get voted out, everyone greets them no matter what happens. This season, no one greeted anybody at the door. I mean, people hung out and stuff. But it was a completely different atmosphere, and it just felt sad and depressed. Now, Jack, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
I'm sure LJ hid from Trish.
I watched a good, probably like 80% of them, and one that I remember in particular was Trish's Ponderosa video.
Oh, God.
And she walks into Ponderosa, and everyone's just sitting like at the bar drinking wine and like not speaking, and Trish just like nonchalantly like walks by and it's like, hi guys, and like no one acknowledges her. And then when they're eating dinner, like LJ makes a comment of like how bad she smells, and she's like, oh man, it was really miserable out there. I'm glad like I'm out of the game. He's like, how could you say that you're glad you're out of the game? Like I would trade anything to get back there.
Yeah.
And LJ was super bitter at Ponderosa. He was constantly moping. And
That's the thing is, this Ponderosa, it was bad, this jury session. Like, I really enjoyed this season up until the final tribal council. I just thought it was mean.
I thought it was really awkward.
Yeah, exactly. It was extremely awkward. Now, Ty, what's your take on this?
We've had a couple of those recently.
Honestly, I didn't mind the tribal council that much. I thought Trish's speech was the most inspired thing she did the entire fucking season, and I enjoyed the slow build, which turned into a steady gallop as it went along, and that's right, we got it in. We got it in. That being said, I mean, I thought that was a great juror speech, and I think, and honestly, I recall thinking that Tony answered it correctly. My logic was, well, you know, if I have $1 million, I can help the relatives that I have that are alive. So to that end, makes more. Yeah, I would think it would be worthwhile to do whatever the fuck it was that he did, and it seemed to work. And yeah, I didn't mind it.
It kind of made.
I wouldn't say the performances were that well.
That's actually another thing. I do think the performances were awful. And Alex, you had something you wanted to add?
I didn't think Wu's were that bad.
Yeah,
I just thought that Wu had nothing to offer because Wu was Fabio, and
I thought
Fabio either wins or loses based on who they're up against.
The thing I wanted to say is that I think I'm not sure where this started. I'm gonna say Philippines though, because that stood out to me similar to this one in that everybody's sort of friendly. There's your usual level of people sniping at each other during the show, and then after the show, everybody's still chumming with each other. But when you get to Final Tribal Council, they just get nasty, and they get unnecessarily nasty, and then they don't vote better. It's just
that's completely true. They did that to Denise. They did that to Denise.
Final Tribal Council has sort of in the minds of some people, become the place where here is my chance to get on my high horse and act like a jackass.
And I do agree.
My thinking is that it's just sort of their platform to sort of let out all of their bitchiness or pent up rage, and the jurors who vote, or the finalists who voted them out, they have to take it because they voted them out. So I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Not to mention the fact, let's face it, the bitchier they are, the more entertaining it is.
Let's not forget Corinne.
So fucking great.
And Ty, speaking about that, I did want to say how many people noticed that Morgan took a jab at Cass.
I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it so much.
As much as
she is so perfect in every way.
Morgan she's my wife. She doesn't know it yet. I'll send her. I sent her a marriage request on Twitter. She hasn't gotten back to me. I think it's because she's nervous. Anyways,
I'm sure she is.
As much
she's not used to someone as beautiful as her propositioning her. And
she even asked Tony, how do you do it? How do you get those guys in your pocket without breasts? Like,
I will say.
She's a role model, I think.
Complaining about how bitter everyone was, I actually did take a lot of pleasure in that.
Yes, I love
Morgan.
Morgan.
I think Jeremiah was like more interesting in this final tribal council.
Yeah,
honestly, Jeremiah pissed me off with his thing because he's bitching about like people swearing on things, and it just immediately reminded me that he was a actor model that got thrown into the show and must not have been that big of a fan of the show. Because anyone who was a big fan of the show would have known, I don't know, Sandra lied on her kids, Johnny Fairplay lied on his shit. I mean, this is not fucking new. This is not fucking new in the last 10 years.
Or you can go back to Vanuatu.
Actually,
Twyla swearing on her son.
Well, actually, Patrick, I do want to harp on that real quick. You said you can go back to Vanuatu, and in fact, if anyone were to listen to the interview I did with Sarge, and he's the one who made such a big deal about Twyla swearing on her son, he didn't even want to say that. Production was like, dude, you should say something, because Sarge was originally going to say, yeah, I'm voting for Chris. I think you both did a good job, but production kind of goaded him in this net. And on the Jeremiah point, Jeremiah kept saying, well, where I'm from, we don't lie on our family. Where I'm from, Jeremiah lives about 3 hours away from me, and I would totally fucking lie on my family. So I'm not sure what he's talking about.
I just think at this point, if I was out there and anyone was like, oh, I swear on this and this and that, I would instantly think they were lying to me. I would think full of shit.
Exactly.
The fact that you have to swear on all that to tell me something means something's up.
But Alicia, if you go with me, not only will I go to the final two with you, when I'm at the final two, I'll tell everyone to vote for you.
Oh yeah, the other classic, like, wow, you're full of shit scenario.
So have we covered just about everything we need to about the finale before we jump onto the reunion? I mean, we're all satisfied, right? This was a great season. I'm going to put it, I'm putting it top 10, maybe even top 6. And I'm going to ask each of you where you would put it roughly. Patrick, where would you put this season?
Well, it's so hard because the older seasons are so much different than the newer seasons. So I'm going to say, like, post Heroes vs. Villains, it's probably the best one that we've had. So that puts it maybe in the top 5.
Okay. Steven?
I would say for me solidly top 10. It's not for me on Marquesa's level, but it's pretty damn good.
Okay, and then Alex?
I would say top half. It would probably rank a little higher if I went back, because I was kind of operating on the assumption that Tony would not be able to win for most of the season, and so that has kind of it's like getting the bad ending in a storybook. So now I need to like look at it with the bad ending in mind, and then I would probably be able to rank it a little bit higher.
Okay, it seems fair. Ty, what do you think?
Definitely top 10. I don't want to say top 5 right now, just because off the top of my head, I don't know that I would put it in like the echelon of like, oh my god, I love this season so much. That being said, I echo the sentiment that was just said that since Heroes versus Villains, this has by far been the best season. I mean, let's put it this way. The power rankings were completely moot this year because no one fucking knew, because the editing meant absolutely fucking nothing. And
that is something we do gotta talk about. But
I would imagine that whoever was doing Edgic on Sucks, if they bothered to do it this season, I'd imagine they cut themselves fucking time.
Well, they were on the Woo train, actually.
Yeah, Edgic was
as was I for the last several weeks, because based on the editing, he was the only possible winner besides Spencer.
Well, yeah, and then there was also LJ, which we all were like, oh, this is going to be a boring season because LJ has this wrapped up the moment Sarah got voted out.
Yep.
That was fun.
And then Tasha had a shot, but she didn't get to the end.
Tasha never had a chance.
Alicia.
Never had a chance.
I can dream, Ty.
Alicia, what
yes,
did you rate
you can
this
dream.
season?
And then you support the same person who killed her during the finale night.
I enjoyed watching it because of the constant, like, gasps I felt like I was emitting because of the tricky editing. I don't think it was, like, as great as a lot of people probably think it is. Just because for me, like, the players that ended up so close, like, most of the players that ended up near the end or were on the jury just weren't exciting, rootable players for me. So I didn't enjoy it as much as other seasons where I've been like, oh my gosh, this person, they are my life, I want them to go far, or like, oh my gosh, this alliance, I ship it, so.
There are no Jollop House 3.
But I was greatly impressed by the editing and by the challenges.
Alicia, were you impressed by LJ's hair plugs at the reunion?
Oh my god, yes! I was like, oh! Did he add hair to that, or
He
did he
did.
just gel
He did. He used the $30,000 he got from Survivor to get himself some hair. Jack, how would you rank this?
Wait. I was going to say that Trish donated some for me. And then she donated some glue, and that's how they put it on.
Oh.
Anyways, Jack. Thank you, Ty. Anyways, Jack, how would you rank this season?
Probably top 7, hundo% top 7.
Mm-hmm. So you loved it just like me.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the editing. How much of the editing do you guys think was done this way because of how mad and snippy we were about Tyson and Cochran's obvious edit and Denise's pretty strong edit and that fun stuff? Do you think the editors were self-aware and that's what made this season so great?
They probably hired a new editor who had undiagnosed ADHD. Just let them do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
They had a different editor edit each episode.
Also, I mean, with Tony's character, how do you spin that to be some sort of heroic survivor character? You just
he cried during the last episode.
There's literally no footage that you could piece together that would make sense that way.
Well, my thought is that with Tony's win, I don't really know how you can explain it any other way than how it was explained. In that Wu done fucked up. I mean, Wu
fucked up, but Tony was also
fucked up because Tony played a better game.
Yeah, because he was a prevailing force throughout this entire season. And
the editing represents Tony's game. Tony was extremely all over the place, and the editing for the season was pretty much all over the place. Mm-hmm. So it's a 1-to-1 ratio of how it represents the season.
I do like that. I think that's a good way to look at it. Another thing I want to talk about, just to me shows how great the season was. If I were to have presented the boot list of this season to you guys on the very first episode, you would have all thought that I was fucking insane. With the Tony, everyone thought Tony and Cass were being voted out pre-merge. Everyone thought Spencer was going to go, or Spencer did go far, but people were like, Spencer's either going to go far or he's going to do really bad. Everyone loved Jatia. Jatia was supposed to be the next Vesepia. And yet, oh my God, we were all wrong, besides Brian Nelson.
Hey, I thought Cass would go far.
Although I think one of my favorite pre-show to actual show turnarounds has to be Jatia's, because pre-show everyone was thinking, yeah, she's going to be the Black Kim Spradlin or the CPP star, and lo and behold, that first episode, I'm going to build a shelter and it's going to work, and I jumped the rice, and it's just marvelous to see.
Marvelous.
I still would have kept her over Cass.
Oh, yeah.
I've said it before, I will say it again. She is just an embarrassment to the game of Survivor. The fact that she was involved,
she utilized her tribe's stupidity to her advantage, and for that I give her props.
I'll tell you what, though. If they keep her instead of Cass, and she's in Cass's spot when they merge, she's not stupid enough to fuck up 6 versus 5.
You know what? I agree with you.
Yeah.
Tasha had her under her thumb.
That is true.
Jatia is there. I mean, I don't know how the fuck you would have rationed that, but if Jatia is there instead of Chaos fucking Cass.
So then maybe
Tasha, your precious Tasha probably wins.
Right now, Tasha wins tonight, is what you're saying.
So maybe we had a Jatia and Tasha final too. That would have been.
So what Ty is trying to tell you is that Cass fucked over your favorite player, Steven.
Oh, he's told me that in no way.
Well, she did that in numerous ways. I mean, most notably when she betrayed her and voted her out.
Get off the Cass train, if not, just so that way we can talk about something else to Prince Ty. Okay.
I will be quiet in my Cass, not me.
Okay. And was I the only one that was kind of sickened, though, when Jeff Probst was like, oh, but we would love to have you back to Jatia? I was like, we just had this with Francesca, and it didn't work.
Okay,
son of a bitch.
And with Brandon Hance.
And Brandon Hance. Yeah, has he lost his mind? And actually, this is a perfect segue into the reunion. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the reunion.
We almost got through without a mention of the Hanses, and then fucking Tyler Perry ruined it.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Not only did we get Tyler Perry brought about Russell. So,
Medea's Survivor reunion.
Am I the only one that was upset that Probst was trying to give all the credit for the idol to Tyler Perry? Okay, and then Probst was like, "Oh no, this one's different because we hit it later." Like,
and there was no clue for it.
He brushed over it. He said, "Oh, we did it before, but Tyler Perry thought of blah blah blah." And it's like, no, stop, Probst.
Tyler Perry is terrible. Oh my lord! Yeah, it's ours where they don't belong.
Medea playing the idol at the at the tribal council. You never know.
Maybe.
They should put Tyler Perry on the next season of Survivor, so that way he can. And they should put Colton out there so he can tell Medea.
Jesus. Anyways,
did anyone else think they gave Tony way too much time?
Yeah, that's really
look at the past winners. Like, I think Denise got to talk for about 2 minutes, and this one they gave a whole full 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes was all Tony.
They bring in some like random person. They're like, you once peed next to Tony at a urinal. Tell me.
And then the thing about Tony saving someone's life and all, just going into that, like, no, I want to hear about what happened and people's perspective.
If I was production, I actually would
ask Alexis a question or something.
Yeah, I would have Tony saving the person life because that is interesting. However, all the other stuff is unnecessary. And how many survivors did not get to speak tonight? I'm the Wikipedia page, but
we got Bryce, we got Alexis.
Alex, you talk, and I'm gonna count how many people didn't talk.
Okay, so they talked to David, Garrett, not Bryce.
They talked to Tia.
Yeah.
They talked
Cliff.
They
they ignored Lindsay, which
that's natural.
They could that was somewhat justified. Alexis, they did not talk to Alexis. Sarah, Morgan, LJ.
Did they talk to LJ?
They did. I think they had a little bit.
Yeah.
They said we're women sad when you were voting.
Okay.
Like that.
Talk to Jeremiah. No, they didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk to Jeffro. So they only missed, 4 this season? That's actually pretty good.
5.
I think
5 or 6.
I think that production knew they needed to try and humanize Tony a little bit and kind of be boosting his PR, because otherwise they would have probably gotten even more controversial backlash on the type of person he was.
I find it strange though that the casual fans loved Russell Hantz despite the fact that Russell Hantz is basically a human piece of shit, whereas Tony, who seems like an okay guy outside of Survivor,
it's the accent,
and everyone hates him.
And
who wore it better, Tony or Jenna Maraska?
Wait, what did you ask?
Ty, I do completely agree, because I feel like Tony, if you meet him in the real world, I mean, he's going to be kind of abrasive, but that's just his personality, but he's a nice guy, he's not going to,
I bet you I'd have a great deal of fun drinking beers with Tony.
Exactly, and if you drink...
Whereas Russell Hantz would be like, I'm the greatest fucking beer drinker ever, and I would smash my stomach in his face.
Exactly. So,
Just another thing about Tony, though, that I really didn't like was that he had his own comic or something drawn of him for his Twitter. If anyone else has checked that out, his Twitter, it just looks really, really obnoxious. It's like a shrine to himself.
Well, in all fairness, it is Twitter, and Twitter tends to be, if anything, Twitter is not known for its lack of narcissism, though. Yeah. That's kind of how Twitter thrives.
Ty had briefly mention the casuals. To kind of go back to what you were talking about way earlier on, Colin, I think those little stupid segments that you were talking about him doing during the actual show, going backstage to see all of the survivors waiting and showing the little clips of the mirror and the weigh-in, I think that to a casual fan is probably pretty exciting because they probably haven't Googled it to see what actually goes on in Ponderosa. So for them to get little tidbits of behind the scenes is exciting.
And even so, which is why they had the children.
I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying that's probably why they chose to go in that direction.
Absolutely, good point.
You know what? I don't care about the casuals.
That's my problem.
Anyways, That's Steven. That's why I have Steven on this podcast to deal with the casuals, because none of us also want to.
That's true.
Anyways, before we wrap things up, we do have to talk about next season, which is Blood vs. Water, both newbies.
And it's in San Juan del Sur.
Yes,
which is where they filmed Nicaragua and Redemption Island.
San Juan del Sur, because Cagayan wasn't hard enough as it is. Now I have to remember it's Blood vs. Water too. That's how I'm on this podcast.
But I'm just upset they're doing the exact same.
Survivor San Juan del Sur.
they're
Come up with one giant acronym.
I know. It's Blood vs. Water. It's BBW too. That's what it is.
Now it's all new players, but are they going to Redemption Island still?
BBWSJDS.
Are they? We do believe they are doing Redemption Island. So I thought Blood vs. Water was a good season, and I mean, we all did. We all did. I don't know why I'm claiming that opinion as if it's my own. Yeah. We all enjoy Blood vs. Water. However, I believe we all also said, I just hope they don't bring it back too soon.
It's too soon.
Is one season too soon?
Yes.
Or too soon.
At least it's all new players.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah,
not like
that's
it's not like, oh god, I'm so sick of Jervis.
Brenchel.
I like this.
Oh yeah, that's true. Brentel's back, bitches.
Or Alyssa.
I just wish that they would have some returnees so that way Brenda could play with her booty.
Or maybe they'll have the twinnies. No.
No, if Rachel and her sister are on there, then I'll be very excited. But
what about the country singers? The animals?
Oh, fuck them.
No, I don't want the country singers on my TV ever again.
I agree with you, Steven.
I've turned on them actually, but that's neither here nor there.
So everyone,
I don't think
am I the one that thinks next season's going to be bad because it's going to be hard to follow a season like this? And
we are due for a letdown.
Yeah,
and then Jeff Probst is going to go, oh, this is why we never cast newbies.
Although
I think we're due. I think maybe we're due for a letdown. Definitely, we are due for a bad-looking location because the Philippines were beautiful and in both locations, and Nicaragua, the jungle just looks like woods. The sand is like crap brown. There's dead limbs everywhere. It just does not look good.
It's just not a very appealing place. And I props to them for trying to do what they can with it, but to me it's just not a very
why didn't we just stay in the Philippines?
I don't know.
I like the Philippines.
It's cheaper. It's probably cheaper to do it in Central America.
It is closer to home base.
Maybe, but anyways, Brian Nelson, the winner of this season's contest, has just decided to grace us with his presence on Skype.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, guys.
What are you going to use a Nerf football for, Brian Nelson?
Send it to me.
So many
Send
things.
it to me.
Here's what we have to do. Tomorrow,
Don't send it to
tonight, Brian.
Cass.
Hold on, guys. I'm working out the details. Brian, send me your address, and I'm going to mail this to you, okay, after I buy it. It will be quicker turnaround than the Five Guys burgers and fries. It will be quicker than that. However, you will have to take pictures of yourself playing with it. And also, I kind of hate you because I picked Woo, and he should have won, and you guys should be buying me the football. But anyways, congratulations, Brian.
Thank
you
you.
on this podcast once, and you won. I hope you're happy.
It only takes one time to win.
That's all I needed.
And you almost picked Jeffra.
Because I didn't want the football.
Anyways, Brian, send me your address. And guys, before we wrap things up, I have a couple little announcements to make. The first announcement I'm going to make is we will, in fact, be back next season. It was never really up in the air, to be honest, but we will be back next season. However, we will be recording on Thursdays. We'll have 24 hours to digest the episodes before we talk about it. And it's not just because I have class, it's because I believe it will make it a better podcast. Also, we do have some new interviews coming up, a couple of which could be extremely exciting. We have a great logo that Patrick's designing coming up, right, Patrick?
Yes.
Very soon?
Very soon.
Very soon. Okay. I'm trying to think, what else? Oh, this is not the last you guys will hear of me speaking about Survivor Cagayan. I will, in fact, be talking with Jillian Larson from Survivor Gabon on Tuesday. Me and her will be doing a special wrap-up podcast. Steven will be joining us, I believe, if he can.
Is she going to have a dung report?
Oh my god, I'm so jealous. I love her.
I'm hoping there will be a dung report.
I hope so.
So look for that, and that will be like the official end-of-season wrap-up. Not only that, because it's the summertime, we do have some special things coming your way, including that Ty Steven drinking game, which I actually want to do that now.
Can I be involved in that? I'll just drink silently whenever
I'm all for that.
feel.
Survivor drinking podcast coming up.
Now it needs to be inside of my house for safety reasons.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever you gotta do, Steven. But also, the wonderful co-host I used to have, Dennis Patrick, he is releasing a series of YouTube videos of his online Survivor Minecraft edition, and there will be a link to that below. And be sure to check that out if you like Survivor and if you like people talking about Survivor in a kind of voice like this, because that's how Dennis would talk. That's actually not true. Dennis didn't talk at all, hence why we have Patrick. Anyways,
Always off
Dennis was
pirates or being a superhero or something.
Dennis was often battling pirates, and however, recently Patrick was out fighting crime. And if you want to learn more listen to the interview I just did with Zane Knight from Survivor Philippines. Zane talks about what he thinks of this notion of fame, why he thinks Russell got screwed, and Zane thought that Survivor was not real, which is why he did not prepare for it.
What?
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
you
every
thought
day.
they actually got fed meals?
Yes. So if you want to,
That's fucking hilarious.
so if you want to learn more about that,
Years of lies.
if you want to learn more about that, listen to the interview. Now, is there any final thoughts? Anything anyone needs to get off their chest before we
One last time.
The last panel.
One last time.
Okay.
Cass is
Take it away.
I got one thing to say,
Okay.
and it is I have found a new respect for Trish, believe it or not.
Yes.
Wow.
She kind of turned it around tonight when she said she was putting out all the fires for Tony.
Her speech was fantastic.
She had a good
absolutely.
speech, and
It made me think that her edit.
Yeah, I think she was
Oh,
under-edited. And I think
completely.
she was a good
I
player.
knew she was under-edited
I
from the
think-
time she got pulled over Cass.
Well, I'm going to say, I'd wager to say that she was probably the one making more of the moves for Tony, and she was letting
Okay.
him,
However, Steven, I was just about to say, if that was the case, though, and Trish did all the work, why did Tony get 8 of the jury votes?
Yeah,
because he was
Trish
against
didn't
the
get
will.
any.
That's true. Trish did not get any jury.
If
votes.
only Trish had not gotten.
No,
most
that's my
votes
point,
from
is that if Trish really did control the game, and Tony was just kind of there like Trish was kind of making it out to be, then the jury wouldn't have given him 8 votes. I think Trish did help Tony a lot, but I also think Tony did have a lot to do with it. Anyways,
They worked well together.
they did. Brian, do you have anything you want to say with your football?
I'm gonna enjoy playing with it.
Okay, and take pictures, because we need these pictures for all of our promotional stuff. And I would like to thank every panelist we've had, including Ben, Big Mike. We did. Okay, I was about to say Dreams. We haven't had Dreams on. Dreams wasn't on this season. Jimmy Tarantino and everyone else who helped make this experience possible. I love podcasting, and I can't wait to do it again next season. I want to thank you, Patrick, for putting up with my shenanigans. I want to thank Steven. I want to thank Alex. I want to thank Ty. I want to thank you, Alicia. I want to thank you, Brian. And I want to thank you, Jack. And I want to thank all the listeners out there. Thank you so much, and I look forward to hosting you all, or hosting some more in the future.
Did I do my one last Cliff impression or no?
Yes.
I don't know what I should say.
Well,
Say goodbye.
take it away. Say goodbye.
Well,
Say good evening, as Cliff.
It's been a great season.
So, guys, it's been a great season of Survivor Cagayan. I want to thank everyone for listening to our podcast. Yeah, good evening.
You were gone too soon.